Okay, we're going to make some tutorials here to show you some of the basic moves if you were going to do a simple motion graphics piece and synchronize it to some audio. And I thought I would go out and get a famous saying by the Blues Brothers, a quotation. So I went out on the internet. I used my Snaps Pro screen capture utility to grab this clip off of the internet. It's a repeating scene of the Blues Brothers.
To Chicago, we got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes, it's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it. It's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes, it's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Okay, so that has a couple repeats in there, and I've got one full cycle. I want to get the audio out of this, so there's several ways you could do it. A really kind of simple way to do this is go to the QuickTime Player export function. It says what format do you want to use? I say audio only, and I click on that, and I won't click it this time because this is what I got right here. This is my BB Audio QuickTime Pro blah blah blah. And so I hold down my control key. I say open that with Audition, which doesn't show up. So I'll say other, and I'll go into applications here, Adobe Audition Creative Cloud, and there we go. So now this is the same clip we just listened to.
Wearing sunglasses. Hit it. It's 106.
Okay, so here's the door slam right here.
It's 106.
So I want to go, I want to take this part before the door slam and just get rid of it. So just kind of go over here, hit the delete key, and goodbye door, or goodbye the first part of that. So there it is. Now I'm going to jump ahead in reality here, and once I trimmed this out previously, I went to this one. So what I did with this was I wrote out all of the dialogue. It's see, what is it, it's 106 miles to Chicago. We have a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes, it's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. What I did was I put in markers on this timeline where every one of those words starts so that I have a clue where to synchronize up to. So if you hold your cursor over this, you see it's a and 6 miles, Chicago, we, full tank gas, all these things are labeled here. And I just did that by scrubbing along here and
106 miles to Chicago.
so you kind of find you find these things, you hit the M key, it puts in a marker here in the markers window. You just triple click on the new marker and you can give it a name. Just like so. So I've got that audio file prepared. I can get out of Audition, and then I go into After Effects, and I can bring that guy in. So we go import. Let's see, where am I here? It's the one that says marked, right, this one here. So here's my audio track labeled marked. I put it down here, and now I can see I zoom in here, I can get a look at my markers. And so when I put my type in here, that's going to give me a clue where to synchronize things to. Now my type, since I wrote out all of the dialogue, I also made myself a set of layers here. So I made a layer for the key phrases that I wanted to animate, and I set them all. I'm going kind of low-key on the graphic variety here. I just made everything in century bold, and so I just stack these guys up. They're kind of running off the edge of the page. Just for point of reference, I created a new Illustrator page, and I used the video settings, and I used HDTV, which gives me a set of safe, video safe boundary and also a title safe boundary. That doesn't really matter because when I import this, it's going to jam all of these things into the middle of the page anyway. So I've just got them spread out here so I can see them. It's an Illustrator file, and back here at After Effects, we do a Command I. We find that Blues Brothers type file, all acceptable files. It qualifies. Here's the trick. Footage would bring it in as one solid mass. Composition would bring it in layer by layer, but it would bring in giant bounding boxes. And the composition retained layer sizes brings it in nice and compact boxes around each piece. It'll stack them up in the middle, but that's okay. Kaboom. There they go. So now you have a composition of the Blues Brothers type, and you also have a folder of the Blues Brothers type with all the parts in it. And I think I will start out kind of conservatively, and I'm going to bring in layer by layer. They didn't come in quite in the same order as spoken, but I see 106 miles is this layer. I think we have full tank of gas follows that. So down we go. 106 miles. I might even move this up a bit. And so I'm going to kind of use my zoom here. I'm zooming down. There's a couple of things I should take care of. I'm going to shorten that clip down. I want to look at my composition settings just for fun, just to make sure, yes, I do have the HD TV settings, the 1920, 1080. Not that it matters tremendously to match up with my Illustrator, but because it's vector. But this is the output size I'm going to work with. And I think I'm going to, on the duration of my composition, I'm going to just put in 15 seconds to give myself plenty of room. And if it turns out I have a little bit left over, I'll trim it off later. So there we go. We can see now that here's the 15-second total area. I could go down here and give myself a little extra room, but this is the audio file. Here's my endpoint. Something to note here is if you're going to RAM preview something, you don't want to RAM preview the whole piece. You might want to just check one little chunk of it. So you've got two keys that will give you a beginning if you hit the B key, and an N right next to the B key. That will give you an end. So beginning and end is triggered by the B and the N. So there's a little bit of mnemonic device there. Or you can just drag these. So if you want to start out down here with this is your working space. So when you render something out with the RAM preview, it only renders out this part here. Okay, so in we zoom a little bit here. Come on. Okay, not having too much luck with that zoom. Okay. Was not grabbing very well. And we can move the composition along with this bar on the bottom. And so here's my little chunk of type. Put my playhead right there. So it's 106 miles. I left off the its. So I'm going to start the type a little bit before the audio says it's 106 miles. I think I'm going to leave 106 miles up, so I'm going to run it down here after Chicago. And I'll put in my first visual effect here. So I'm going to start right about where the voice supposedly says it's 106 miles. I'm going to go to the transform, and I'm going to use the auto keyframe tool to start making keyframes. And I think I will just do an opacity on this guy. So I click on the opacity, it creates the first keyframe, and then I'm going to go back to the beginning of that clip. I'm just going to turn it down. So what's going to happen is this is going to fade in very quickly, maybe too quickly. If I think it's too quickly, maybe I pull this out a few more frames. There we have a little more of a fade. We're looking at frame rates here. I believe this is a 24 frame per second standard I've got here, so I will see 24 frames in the seconds. As I zoom in and out, I can see individual frames or seconds if I'm taking a wide view. Okay, so we have this thing here. I can flip that back up. Okay, 106 miles. And where's our Chicago? To Chicago. So we stick this in here. And comes in pretty long. We'll just kind of pull this down. And I'm going to go down the timeline a little bit. To Chicago. So what am I going to do with this? Now normally I would probably not just kind of pull this out of the top of my head. I think I would thumbnail out what my moves are going to be. So I would try to pre-plan this guy out. I'm zoomed in pretty tight. I'm doing a lot of extra scrubbing around here, which I shouldn't do. Okay, to Chicago. So I think I'm going to start this before to Chicago. Get our zoomer to work. And maybe take it to about there, which is going to give us, keep that up. We have a full tank of gas, might be my next phrase. And maybe I'll just switch out of that. So let's just animate this one little piece here. So we have fades in 600 miles to Chicago. Now just globally speaking, I might want to put Chicago a little more centered like this. And this, if I don't have any keyframes made, it just places it in that position for the whole animation. Flip down our controls, we flip down the transform, and I think I want to do a scale and a position on this guy. And let's see. So it says to Chicago. And I think I want to have this thing land in its final position right there. I think I will bump it up to here. And I think what I want to have it do is back here. I think I want to have it be smaller. And I want to have it be positioned off screen. Oops. something went wrong. I didn't have a position on the ending keyframe, which means that it didn't come up here. So here we go, like that. So remember here, this is the auto keyframe, the little stopwatch. If you want to put a keyframe in at any point, all you have to do is click the add or remove keyframe button. It will stick one in for you. Resist the temptation to try to add a keyframe with this because it will erase all your current keyframes. And you do that a few times and you'll catch on. Okay, so there we have some basic moves. So my RAM preview zone here, my working space, is like this now. So I'll hit a RAM preview and we'll play it.
It's 106 miles to Chicago. It's 106 miles to Chicago.
Okay,
106 miles to Chicago.
quick.
It's 106
I
miles
think
to
I will pull that out farther. Back to the end of the video clip.
It's 106 miles to Chicago. It's 106 miles to Chicago.
Okay, I think
106 miles to Chicago.
that's pretty close, but I would like to maybe have this kind of be a little smoother. It's pretty brutal as it just slams right up there. I'm going to do two things to it. I'm going to select the keyframe here, select the keyframe here with a shift. Let's see here, to Chicago. That was acting funny. Let's select these keyframes. Oh, okay, that one's okay. I think I just want to take these guys and have them happen a little bit later. Okay, and the other thing I want to do is let you know that if you hit the, oops, hit the wrong key, made my transform go away. The JK keys will bounce you from event to event. So in this case, it's going from marker to keyframe. Actually, okay, marker, keyframe, marker, keyframe. So JK will let you go back and forth to this, and it lets you land easily on the keyframes. And okay, so I hit the K key. And at this point, I want to use my control key to click on these keyframes. And I want to have the keyframe assistant down here come in, and it's going to give me a choice of easy ease, which means it gives you a little bit of deceleration at the end of a move or acceleration. So I'm going to have it easy ease in here on both of those keyframes. So it's going to kind of land a little softer. If I play this.
It's 106 miles to Chicago.
Okay.
It's 106 miles to Chicago.
So there we have some motion that's going on, and this is kind of the way it's going to go for the whole thing. I would do whatever I feel like is going to be a good move. It could fade in with opacity. It might spin around with rotation. It might do more scaling like I've already done and positioning. You can also go in and turn on the 3D layer, this guy here, if you wanted to swing it around like barn doors and things. A couple things to note here. We've got this little button up here that says comp change, collapse transformation, blah, 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 for vector layer continuously rasterize. And these vector shapes that I brought in from Illustrator, I want them to rasterize as they animate. So I'm going to click that on. going to give me a lot better quality end product. And there's also this button up here, motion blur, that is not a bad thing to turn on, which is going to smooth out some of these motions. So we re-ram preview that.
It's 106 miles to Chicago.
Okay.
106 miles to
So
Chicago.
that's just the very beginning of this. Let me jump to the final stage here where we say, well, we could either put this in the media encoder if I want to really get into the heavy work of the media encoder, or I could go to the render queue, which is a little bit quicker. And we're waiting for the render queue to show up. Okay, there it is. So here we are. Best settings, lossless. Where's it going to go to? Output. This is the Blues Brothers audio marked, is what it thinks it is. Blues Brothers quick test. That's going in my folder. QuickTime Movie. And if I hit render, because this is really short, it's going to go pretty quick. And should be ready to go. Blues Brother quick test movie. Here we are.
It's 106 miles to Chicago.
And there you go. Pretty darn
106
sweet.
miles to Chicago.
Good quality. And that is the basic moves for doing one of these things. And then I would, as I went along, I would fine tune this, but I have markers that tell me where my words land. I can drag my words down here, time them, put them in here, do the animation, and that, in a nutshell, is making this motion graphic stuff. We haven't gotten into the 3D and all that, but these are the basic tools here.